Hello, everyone, and a very good day to you. Good afternoon. It is now 2:05, and how do you do here on this brand new edition of You Orn's pre-match? Welcome aboard, everybody. Welcome aboard. Omar here with another edition ahead of this time of Watford versus Stoke at the Vic, the first championship game at Vicarage Road this season in this brand new season. I hope you are well. I hope that you, if you're heading to the Vic, are going to be there and have a great time. And let's see a Watford win, shall we? As the Golden Boys try to make it 3 from 3 in this season, as they've got off to a very good start already, I would say. They beat Millwall last Saturday 3-2. And of course, this past Tuesday in the Carabao Cup made it a 5-0 hammering of the MK Dons. I do hope that Watford can continue their run of wins. Remember, the home form was emphasized by Tom Cleverley this season in the preseason, that Watford would have to do a whole lot better at the Vic. 6 wins all season at the Vic last season. And look, just a few more than that in the previous season. It was, I think, we've had a very poor run at the Vic with home wins, haven't we, over the last couple of seasons? Well, Watford looking to put paid to that again today, for looking for their second win in the matter of 5 days, of course, back on Tuesday. And then if they can get one today, it would be their second in around 4 or 5 days. And it would cap a remarkable first week of football for Watford out the gates. Would be their third win out of 3. Let's see if they can do that today against a Stoke side that are going to be stubborn, that are going to be difficult to deal with at the Vic. Stoke, who gave us some problems last season at the Vic. We had a 1-1 draw against them. And of course, the game we played against them this time last year at the Bet365, we ended up losing that one by a score of 1-0. I do hope you're well on this Saturday afternoon in the Vicarage Road Stadium. Wherever you might be across the world, Watford fans, welcome aboard to this brand new edition of the You Orn's pre-match. Excitement abounds here at the Vic, of course, as we await the very first championship game of the 24-25 season. What is your call on this game? Do you think that Watford will get 3 points from this game? We've just had a look at the lineup. I've just had a look at the lineup. The starting lineup is unchanged except for one person, and that would be James Morris. As I look down here and see James Morris has come into the side. Ryan Porteous, who started last week's game at Millwall, comes out due to a minor illness. And so everyone else is otherwise unchanged. And so I guess it's going to be a back 3 still. James Morris will be a part of that unless there's going to be a tweak there. Jeremy Ngakia is also in the mix as well. So I expect it might be a back 3 or back 4 now that you have the absence of Ryan Porteous. But that is how we look today. Backman in goal, and Ngakia, Sierralta, who played very well against Millwall, and also Matty Pollock, who I think has been outstanding so far this season. He scored, of course, in midweek against the MK Dons. James Morris, Ryan Andrews, Musa Sissoko is the captain, as, of course, Wes Hood continues to rehab and expected back later this month. Deli Bashiru is in there as well. He'll be alongside Musa Sissoko. And, of course, Georgi Shekfatazi is in the lineup. He had an outstanding start, didn't he, in the game last week at Millwall. Then we have Ido Kayembe. He had a brilliant start to the season as well, getting Watford's first goal of it from a brilliant corner kick that he took. And then Bio is the man up top for the Hornets. And as far as the bench is concerned, you've got Porteous actually dropping to the bench, it looks like. We've got Tom Ince, who had a hat-trick in midweek. And, of course, we have the likes of Johnny Bond in goal. Of course, he's the backup goalkeeper. Rajovic coming off the bench, Loser. And, of course, the other players, Vata, Sema, Bar. And it looks like here, let me see, I can't even make out his name. My goodness me. Vidici, I can't even see that name there. I need to get some specs. I need to go to Specsavers. But that is your lineup. There is one man missing from that lineup on the bench, and that would be none other than Yasser Asprilla. Remember, Tom Cleverley, the head coach, said that he would look at Yasser Asprilla as a contender for the starting lineup, or for the bench. He does not make the bench today. So that means obviously the coach, if it's fitness issues or whatever, he has not made the bench today. So that's the story as well. Yasser Asprilla not making the bench today for Watford ahead of this game against Stoke City. The Potters come into this game having won their first two games as well. They won in the Carling Cup, or if you call it the Carabao Cup these days, they won in midweek. I think they beat Carlisle. And then the previous game, Stoke City started the game in the Championship last week with a 1-0 win over Coventry City at the Bet365. So that is how it looks. Both of these teams then with 100% records coming in to the Vic, where Watford look to get their Championship season off and running, looking to do that here with their home start to the Championship after their win just a few days ago against the likes of MK Dons. Well, this will be a different team today. This is back to the Championship. And Watford have the second of what will be 4 consecutive home games as they take on this Stoke side. Then they will be taking on Derby County a week from today. And then they'll take on Plymouth Argyle in the Carabao Cup beginning the week of August the 26th. So that's really just over a week from now. So Watford have a number of games to get to as we get through here this part of the season. August, quite busy. Watford with 4 home games in a row, a chance to really build their home credentials at the Vic. And let's hope that they do that very well and continue doing that today after their win at midweek against the MK Dons. You know, it's been at least 20 years since Watford last had 4 consecutive home games in their season. And that's something that doesn't come around very often. But Watford hopefully can make the most of it with the lineup they've got. Of course, there's still a matter of the transfer market. Still 2 more weeks to go until the transfer window shuts. We will see how successful Watford will be with that. Tom Cleverley still looking for a number 9, still looking for another defender or so. We will see whether he can get those wishes granted by the Watford board. We'll see if he can get his wishes granted by the Watford board, I should say. And let's find out about that. It's always a tricky time, August, because you don't really want to make predictions, but then you do want to make predictions. And a number of us as Watford supporters have not been very bullish on what Watford will do this season, but that can be tempered at least by the way that they start out. And a game like this can further burnish any kinds of credentials one way or the other. We've seen so far a Watford that have played quite well. Look, they weren't terrific at Millwall all the time, but they certainly played in spells quite well, dealing with the pressure of the away side in a Millwall who normally really play very good football. They did play a lot better second half, Millwall, but Watford dealt with the pressure and were able to get all 3 points. Stoke will be a different test. They'll present a different test for the Golden Boys today, as they will be a team that brings the ball up, is rugged and physical, and quite tenacious as well. But they will be a team, I think, that will use the pitch with much more width than Millwall do. And they will certainly use a full array of tactics, of course, to get under Watford's skin. You would expect that Stoke will do a lot of the frustration game that Watford have come across and are used to now at the Vic from the away side. So we'll see how everything shakes out for Watford today as they take on Stoke in just over 45 minutes time at the Vic. This is You ORNS post-match. I'm Omar. You are a Watford supporter, and thank you very much indeed for watching. Of course, you can find yours truly in You ORNS on X at You ORNS WFC. You can also find, of course, this on the YouTube channel here, You ORNS WFC on YouTube. Please subscribe if you haven't already done so. Good afternoon to you, Greg Evans. I do hope that you're having a good day, Greg. I want to know where you are watching from, whether you are at the Vic, whether you're going to be watching the game on television. But wherever you are in the world, Greg, a very good afternoon to you. And I do hope that the Golden Boys get the golden win today to make it 3 from 3. Of course, you can also follow along on Instagram, which I'll be going to very shortly. Instagram on YOU ORNS WFC. Watford then looking to make it 3 from 3 following their win midweek against the MK Dons. By the way, Tom Ince with a hat-trick in that game, as you may recall, and Kwadwo Bar and Matty Pollock getting on the score sheet as well. Matty Pollock scoring his first goal for the club. He had the captain's armband, did Matty, and he did himself a really good thing. Look, Matty Pollock is evolving right before your eyes. Here's a man who couldn't get very much playing time last season and apparently wanted to get out of Vic, but when the Tom Cleveland, the head coach, snapped him up and said, "Hey, look, you're not going anywhere." Boom, Matty Pollock turned into a better player overnight, it seemed. He had some really good flashes last season of the way he plays football. And this season, he is really taking to football like a duck to water. He has assumed some leadership already in that back line. And as I've said before, the back line that Watford should go with when everybody is healthy, that back three that Cleverly likes to play now, would be Wes Hood, would be Matty Pollock, and of course would be Francisco Sierralta. That is your best back three. And that's before Watford may try to get some more players before the transfer market shuts, but we'll see. But those three players I've mentioned are your best back three when they're all healthy. Wes Hood, which is a big boost, is expected back this month rather than next month. I think that's very important from a Watford perspective. He, of course, will have the immediate armband, and that means that, of course, the whole way that defensive structure looks is going to be a lot different. And so that is how that goes. Greg Evans says, sitting in the hot Czech Republic, just want to see more of the same heart and passion as the first two games, says Greg. Klebs is bringing. Let me just see this. I just got to get rid of this this heart here. Just trying to see what Greg has to say. Greg is saying that Klebs is bringing the something back. I can't see what that word is because an emoji is in the middle of that word. I can't even move the scroll this up. Spirit, thank you. Greg, thank you very much for that. And let me read out that post again from Greg Evans, who says he's sitting in the hot Czech Republic, just want to see more of the same heart and passion as the first two games. Klebs is bringing the spirit back. Thank you very much, Greg, indeed, for your message there here on YOU ORNS pre-match live from YOU ORNS WFC here on the YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and tell all your friends about the YOU ORNS WFC YouTube channel. We'll be going to Instagram in a few short moments' time. And as Greg says, look, he's having a good time sitting in the hot Czech Republic right now. But that is something that we want to see, as Greg has said. We as Watford supporters want to see that same spirit, that same passion, that same belief, that same invigoration that has been missing now for a number of seasons. There were flashes of it under Val Ishmael, but it was not consistent enough in the way we wanted to see it. What you've got now, as well as what Greg said with the heart and the passion and the spirit that's being built under Tom Cleverly, is an aggressiveness. You see this Watford team have a bit more aggressiveness to them when they're playing with and without the ball. They are much more apt to close down space. Their movement is much better without the ball. And when they move the ball, for the most part at least, they move it with a bit more urgency. And that's something that we've not seen a lot of, especially at home. You saw that on Tuesday. I saw it at least in the highlights. I was not able to see the game at all. But from here in California, in San Francisco, you can see in the highlights the way they're moving the ball, much more purposeful, much more as if they knew what they were doing with the ball. They knew where the ball was going. They had an idea. They had a game plan. And they did with Millwall as well. They are able to be confident enough in their possession at Millwall where they were able to completely turn the game with their tempo through much of the first half of the game last week at the Den. You didn't see that a lot last season, especially on the road, even when Watford has some good away performances. There was a lot more calm and confidence to Watford in the first half of the game against Millwall last week. And of course, there were times in the second half where it was very nervy for us. We made a number of defensive errors, but thankfully we had Daniel Batman to save us, and we had some last-ditch clearances off the line. You remember the clearance from Francisco Sierralta off the line. Remember, the post was our best friend last week. We had two of those Millwall attacks hit the post, and one of them hit the crossbar as well. So we definitely had the goal frame to thank as well when it seemed that all was lost. Watford just has some really good tenacity. And you remember, one other thing about Watford that we've seen that's very new this season so far in the very early stages is a Watford side who, even against the run of play, find ways to score goals. In the first 15 minutes of that game last week in the second half, Millwall had us under the cosh, completely dominated the first 15 minutes of that second half, did Millwall. But Watford still found a way to go 2-0 up, doubling their lead. You may remember in the 53rd or 54th minute or thereabouts through Georgie with that spectacular direct free kick. We don't score from them very often, do we? But Georgie found a way with a piece of magic and class. And that worldie that he scored to go along with the worldie that Kayembe scored doubled our lead, and we were on our way. But again, the pressure that we got from Millwall, we dealt with, even though we gave away one goal at least that was rather sloppy. We need to continue to consolidate the spirit that Greg is talking about at the Vic. And so whether you are in the hot Czech Republic, where of course the temperatures now are probably through the roof, I hope you are well there, Greg, and enjoy the sunshine in the Czech Republic, or wherever you might be, whether you're at the Vicarage Road, whether you're in the Rookery at the Vic, whether you are in the Graham Taylor stand or the Sir Elton John stand, or whether you're sitting in the Anne Swanson today, wherever you may be across the world, I do want to say thank you very much indeed for watching this particular edition of You ORNS pre-match. We are now just about 40 minutes away from kickoff at the Vic. I'm sure the place is packed to the rafters. I don't know what the temperatures are like. Haven't looked. I've got to look at what the weather is like in Watford right now. But I do want to thank you very much indeed for watching this edition of the You ORNS pre-match. Of course, don't forget to join us right after the game with You ORNS post-match live here. Yes, live here on the You ORNS WFC YouTube channel, as well as on X at You ORNS WFC as well. We'll be taking your phone calls, taking your comments, reading them out, and we will, of course, talk and do some analysis of this game, of course, between Watford and Stoke. That's right after the game, right here on the You ORNS WFC on You ORNS post-match. It certainly has been an exciting week, hasn't it? One thing I want to say before I do go, it's been a very exciting week for Watford. And I want to know whether Watford fans watching are bullish on Watford this season, or are they not so bullish on Watford? Because, of course, before the Millwall game last week, I was in the Instagram chat, in the Instagram live, and I was asking Watford fans what they thought about Watford, how they would fare this season. And most Watford fans were very, very dour about Watford's chances of a successful season. One Watford fan said that he felt that Watford would get relegated this season. Now, that's before the Millwall game. There was another Watford fan who felt that they'd finish in the bottom six. And there were other Watford fans who thought that it was not going to be a season to remember. When I asked about predictions for the Millwall game, there were fans saying Millwall were going to turn us over. I thought that Watford would get a draw against Millwall. I even predicted a 2-2 scoreline last week. And for about 4 minutes or 3 minutes, I was correct. Actually, for about 2 minutes, I was absolutely correct. And then, of course, thankfully, Mileta Rajovic scored to make it 3-2. So that was my prediction. But so many Watford fans last week, before the game started, that were very, very dour about Watford's chances. And, of course, one of the reasons why that probably was the lack of activity in the transfer market and the lack of activity that they found as impressive in the transfer market. They were not impressed. Fellow Watford supporters were not impressed by the business so far. And of course, one thing that you know in August, as I said earlier, there's still a couple more weeks. The window doesn't shut till what, the 30th or the 31st of this month. So there's still some time. There's still a ways to go, but we will see what happens. You really can't make an assessment until that window shuts and we judge who stays and who goes. Yasser Asprilla, who we were wondering if he'd come to the bench today, is not on the bench. He's probably not going to be here. I don't think there's any secret about that. He's probably going to be out of the Vic when the transfer window shuts. But I wonder what fans think about the Watford season and how it is going to end this season for Watford. I had thought before the season started that Watford would finish around mid-table again. I'd say about 9th or 8th. They would probably just miss out on the playoffs. That was my outlook before the Millwall game. Watford probably finish 8th, 9th, or 10th, right there in that mid-table area. The championship is always very difficult. It's a tough nut to crack, to get through. I mean, those things you've got to factor in. You've got to factor in the teams that just got relegated from the Premier League. You've got to factor in the teams that just missed out on playoffs. And you've got to factor in the teams who just finished short in the playoffs, like a Leeds United, for example. These kinds of things you have to factor in. So that's at least, what, 6 or 7 teams who are going to be in the mix. And then you have to ask yourself, what have you done to improve your lot in the offseason? And of course, as Watford fans generally, we have not been very enthusiastic or happy about what the business has been. And so those are the reasons why you've heard some of the predictions you have. But I don't think it's going to be as bad as some of the Watford fans have been fearing. But we will see, of course, what this remaining 2 weeks of the transfer window brings us. It should be quite an interesting time. And of course, we'll continue to see what goes on the pitch for Watford as we get ready to go for Watford versus Stoke. That is going to be it for now, fellow Watford supporters. I do want to thank you very much for your time. I'm Omar, and it's been a pleasure to be here with you as fellow Watford supporters. Don't forget to join me right after the match here on You ORNS WFC with another You ORNS post-match here live. We'll also be doing this simulcast, or in fidelity, if you will, with the Instagram feed as well. You ORNS WFC on Instagram. We'll be having both sets of followers come in, and I'll be reading out your comments, doing live chats if there are any to be done, and of course be talking about this game between Watford and Stoke today at the Vic. Watford looking to make it then 3 from 3 to maintain a 100% start to this season. It would be a really good thing if Watford could do that today against Stoke City. So we will see what happens. Enjoy the game, everyone. Thank you very much, Greg, for your message, and to everyone who's popped in and popped out. Take care. I'm heading off to Instagram now at You ORNS WFC. So please, if you are on Instagram, follow me there. Join me there in just a minute or so as we get ready to do a pre-match there from here in San Francisco. Thank you very much indeed. Enjoy the game if you're there in the vehicle, wherever you are across the world. Thank you very much for watching. We'll see you, of course, after the game, and enjoy the match. Come on, You ORNS. Take care now, and see you later on.